A warm welcome to our Modern Miracles gathering, one of our weekly Monday gatherings. My name is Reverend Lisa Windsor, and I welcome everyone here to rest in for this time together as we share about the teachings of A Course in Miracles, which is a universal spirituality. So it's very beautiful, and it can sometimes take a little bit of time to look beyond the terminology and the wording to see the universal nature of it, but it is in fact a very universal teaching, which I love, which makes it also extremely and totally inclusive. And yeah, as opposed to imposing more rules on us with this teaching, we are undoing from the rules and the limitations we have set in our minds. So, yeah, if this is one of your first times listening and being here, really just settle in and receive what is meant for you. I always find it interesting in groups. And I've learned over time that what is spoken is for the whole, and not every single statement, word is going to necessarily resonate or land for you. And actually, you can relax because what it is you are meant to hear, what you are meant to receive, will come to you with ease and grace. And the rest, you can just let it go. You can really relax here. And the other thing is, and I think this is sort of like my old way of doing things, is I would come into spaces like this and I would want to take notes. I'd want to take so many notes. And even that isn't necessary, although for some people they're welcome to. But what we really need to receive is not necessarily on the level of words, right? It may come through speaking and sharing, but it's really happening on the dimension of spirit. And there's healing, and there's forgiveness taking place, and there's miracles happening. And so again, we can relax. That actually our healing is unfolding, and we don't have to get all up in it. We don't have to interfere. We don't have to feel responsible. We can rest here. Okay. And tonight, we are talking more about the topic of trust. Right? So we're already talking about the topic of trust when we say that our healing is taking place. And again, we don't know how to heal ourselves, so we can't take on this responsibility of working it out. But we could step into a space of trust that it's happening, that we're included, and that there's a plan unfolding for our highest good. And that's what A Course in Miracles teaches us. It tells us that there is a plan unfolding, that we are waking up, and that we can rest in trust, in faith, that all that we need for our healing, it will be given with ease, and it will be given with grace. Okay, so I love coming into these devotional spaces together. It's a time when I say to rest in, I do mean to rest in on several levels, what we would experience as physical relaxations. I even mean emotionally, that stress, that tension sometimes that we're carrying emotionally, that constriction that also shows up physically. We can soften emotionally in this space, that we're safe to soften. And mentally is a really big one with the Course, because of course this is so much about our thoughts and our perceptions. And so you are not asked to analyze, be thinking through the whole session. You know, it's like you can rest the mind and just know that there is another way to use the mind. In essence, we've misused the mind and had it kind of running nonstop, like this machine, thinking, analyzing, reasoning, judging, sorting, researching, problem solving. And the mind is just, it runs and it runs and it runs. And so when I say rest the mind, it's like, let the mind quit that job right now. Like there's nothing is going to happen in this time together that you need to solve, that you need to fix, that you need to analyze, that none of that is even necessary. And I think that's the devotional space where we actually give ourself permission to rest in God, to rest in the love, to rest in presence, and unhook from all the distractions and all the pulls. The ego pulls us into the world and into all of that thinking. And it need not be. It need not be. Okay, so I assure you, we can go back into all of that later on, and we may, because we're talking about having to train our minds and unwind from that really addiction to judgment, that addiction to thinking to that level. And so it takes time and it takes patience. It's a process. But we practice here. Modern Miracles Academy is all about practice. Just practice. Practice resting in. Practice resting the mind of all that thinking. Practice softening around your emotions. Practice physically letting go. Practice, right? And then as we practice, it gets easier. It gets easier to rest and get quiet. Our topic is about trust in action. This is a trust that is experienced, right? It's very alive, I will say. Trust in A Course in Miracles on the spiritual journey is it's very alive. And it's built. It's actually built over time. That's why there's a section in the manual for teachers called the development of trust, because we build it over time. And I believe last time we were touching upon that when talking about trust, we have to recognize that we have all been conditioned to trust the ego, the thought system of guilt and fear that we've all been conditioned to listen to follow in this world. And tonight we're going to talk about the other way. There has to be another way. And we're so blessed when we find the other way. And A Course in Miracles is one of these other ways. It's one of the forms of the universal curriculum that some of us will resonate deeply with. And it gives us actually another way to navigate our life, another way to navigate the path of life. Now, I wonder if anyone would like an instruction manual for life. Like, it's like, that would be nice if someone could give us an instruction manual, because it seems quite confusing. And in fact, when we get in touch with our inner teachers, the Holy Spirit and Jesus, they actually, in essence, hold an instruction manual, a set of directions that are here to guide us on a path to awakening, a path of healing, a path of remembrance of who we are as God created us, as spirit, as eternal, as love. And we have been listening to the ego as our director for a long time. And A Course in Miracles says, do not listen to the ego. It's insane. And I think we could probably account for how confused we are trying to navigate life with the ego. Or another way to say that is to navigate life with the absence of our inner wisdom, absent of that inner wisdom and that clarity. So we are no longer wanting to be guided by an insane direction. You know, it's like, put the directions away. We don't want to follow that anymore. But there is actually this manual, these life directions. They only come in the present moment, right? That's how we connect with that inner direction, that present moment guidance, but it is guiding us in this other way. And one of the things that I find as we build trust in the Holy Spirit and Jesus, that they know our highest path, is that we end up in a lot of gratitude. We end up feeling so, so grateful because we feel taken care of. We feel like there is someone within that we can call upon in any circumstance, and that they will know the way, that they will lead the way. So I'm going to use some simple kind of examples, but one of the things that changes in our lives when we apply A Course in Miracles is that we basically fire the ego as our director. And the Course says resign as the leader in your life. It says, fire the ego. Like, you don't want to listen to that. It's not a good teacher. It hasn't brought you the results that you've desired. And it's interesting because that word confusion's coming back to mind. And it's like, confusion is of the ego. When we trust in the ego, we can trust we're going to get confused. That's what it brings. And clarity is of the spirit. And that's what comes in the gratitude, is like, we're so grateful when we receive the clarity and we can rest and we feel relief. Oh, okay, that's the clarity. There is a clear path here. Right? That's like a totally different way. So what we're doing is we're shifting our allegiance. Our trust in the ego is, we are winding back from that. We are turning away from that. That's the old way. And we are turning our allegiance inward, and what we often call vertical, to the higher mind, to the light within our mind, to the Holy Spirit and Jesus. And we are starting to bring our attention to listen and follow the voice of our inner teachers. And this takes practice, as I was saying, because we're conditioned and distracted to listen to the ego. And so when we study and apply the Course, we notice this back and forth a lot between peace and upset, and peace and upset. And it's like there's this unwinding over time as we pull our attention out of the upset, we pull our attention out of the confusion, and we come back to our inner teachers and ask for help. We're asking them to take over. You lead, we follow. I trust in you, Jesus. I trust in you, Holy Spirit, to guide my way. And it's a tricky, bumpy road. For some of us that are studying the workbook right now, we've recently finished the lesson, I am under no laws but God's. But the ego has built its own set of laws, its own set of rules that, again, we've been conditioned to believe and we've invested in. And so our trust has to reel back from all those rules and conditions and limitations and laws. And we need to bring it back in and say to Jesus and Holy Spirit, show me God's law. And what God's law represents, it's not something in the future. It's not something in the past. And God's law is not something in the world. God's law is that whenever we choose, that we can listen and follow in this moment the voice for love, and it will guide our highest path. That's the law of God. We have everything we need in every moment to walk our highest path. God's law says everything in truth is true, and everything that's false doesn't exist and will dissolve. God's law says that we are the decision maker and that we can choose what is real and what is loving. And we can also choose what is unreal, but what is real and loving is safe eternally. Even if we make a wrong choice, what is true and loving and who we are is always safe and untouched. So you can almost see that the laws of God protect God's kingdom. They protect heaven. They protect our true identity. Nothing can touch upon that. That law is in place eternally forever. And the ego, being the law of chaos, can't understand that and does its best to grab our allegiance through guilt, through fear, through confusion, through whatever tactics it has. And all of us probably can agree we're very tired from attempting to navigate life with the ego, or what we could say is on our own. Another way of saying navigating life with the ego is us navigating life on our own, apart from our connection with God and our inner and our own inner wisdom. Developing trust is very tricky on some level because, as I said in the prayer or previously tonight, one of the things that we have to learn to do is listen. Trust is not developed if we don't pause to listen, right? Because how can we learn and build trust in the Holy Spirit and Jesus if we won't listen to what they say? Secondly, we have to follow. It seems simple enough, and some of us will listen. Some of us hear that voice. We kind of know that intuitive prompt, but the follow through, to follow it through, is so, so important because that builds experience that we can trust in that inner guidance. Listen and follow. So what's tricky about that is to listen to the Holy Spirit, to listen to the voice for Jesus. It requires that we quiet our mind. It requires that we pull our attention out of misthought, misperception, and we bring it back and we open our mind to listen to the voice for love. In A Course in Miracles, it teaches us you can never be in both thought systems at the same time. It's one or the other. We can't actually divide our attention, our mind. It seems that way sometimes because in confusion, it seems like the mind's kind of going everywhere. But the truth is that confusion, whether it's confusion, yes or no, right or wrong, that's all of the ego. What we have to do is withdraw our conditioning and our habit of thinking. So what the ego has told us is that we can be our own God. We can live our own life. And what it's had us do with the power of our mind is think on our own. And it says, listen, I'm going to give you your 5 senses. I'm going to give you a memory. You can use the memory in your mind to remember what's happened in the past. I'm going to give you a level of reason. So whatever you can take in, you can evaluate. And it's absolutely the most limited reference point we could ever come from. It has no touch upon when we come to the Holy Spirit and Jesus, who see past, present, future, everything, everyone, always, at all times, and what's for the highest good. And meanwhile, the ego has said, you're a good judge of character. You can, use those senses to see what's happening and to figure out what's going on in your environment. Use the body to navigate life and make your decisions. Think it through, analyze, judge. And why it's tricky is that we all value those things. Listen, I went to university. I spent years of my life in school, as we all have, even if we've just gone up through school, learning to use our minds to think, to reason, to judge, to memorize, to form opinions. I value that, or I would say I did value that very, very much. Layered on top of that of my self-concept is that being intelligent or smart made me feel like I can survive in the world, that's maybe how I'll be seen. So don't even think about saying that my thinking and my ability to analyze things and look at things, that's not valuable. There's another layer of a grip on the way I use my mind. You know, and maybe you're a good problem solver. Maybe you're good at you know, that was another thing. I used to help my friends. I'll help my friends with their problems. Right? And who's helping them with their problems? I'm pulling from my past experience. You know, I'm pulling from, you know, what I think is right and wrong. And the tricky part is that we're not going to give that up in an instant. Although we do give it up in an instant to listen to him, but we'll keep coming back to it. It's an unwinding process. We have so overly invested in the misuse of our mind and develop trust in that. You can see that. What's the issue with trust? Well, it's placed in me trusting in my own in my own navigation skills. Has it led me to happiness? No. Has it led me to the things and all the things I want of this world? No. But I keep investing there. Why? Well, in this world, most of us are still investing there. Most people are. You can gather in groups and groups and groups and talk and debate and opinionize and do all these things. And everyone's kind of doing it. It's like, why do it? Well, everyone's doing it. Well, that's what it seems. And there's very few people, it seems, until we maybe get really on a path of devotion, that are talking about, do you know, it's really helpful if you could just stop thinking for a moment. You know, I'm just going to say in this space, it's safe. You can just rest your mind. You can just rest. There's not so many people gathering together saying, can we just get quiet and can we just give up our judgment? Imagine we walk into a room of new people and our full intention is to empty our mind of judgment so that we can hear and trust in the Holy Spirit and Jesus to guide us in that room of people. Versus, do you think I'm going to go into a room full of new people and not judge and use all my judgment skills to see where I land, where I fit, you know, who I'm going to target, who I'm going to talk to, who I want to be friends with, who I don't. You see, even that, the way those things are built is like the ego going, you'll be safe when you hold on to that judgment. How will you even know what to do if you don't have that judgment? Trust in me. And yet what opens up when our trust is in spirit, is in the Holy Spirit and Jesus, and we walk into that room and the Holy Spirit says, give me your judgments. Let me direct you. Let me guide you. What I will give you the words to speak. I will bring you the people to connect with. I will bring the things you need to hear and receive. I will take care of you. And all of it will be for your highest good, and it will be for your brothers and sisters. It will be love. Purpose. Will you go into the room with purpose? And the ego says, will you go into the room and protect yourself? Or at least get the job done, whatever that job might be, whatever agenda it has. Right? Wow. So this is the reason I'm saying this is because whenever we're in the development of trust, so much of it is a sorting out process. And we come up against all the rules we've followed to navigate the world on our own, all the defenses we have to stay safe, all of the ways in which we have held our mask up or saved face. I think that's the thing. How do I save face? And we've relied on the ego's protection to navigate the world, and we end up feeling alone, and there's still conflict in the relationships, and things just don't turn out. They don't work out. So when we're shifting to trusting in Jesus and Holy Spirit, step number one is let go of your leadership, let go of leading, and shift to listening. It even takes a while to unwind. I know when in many times for a long time, I'd go in to connect with Jesus and Holy Spirit, and I'd just talk the whole time. I just go to them and I just talk, and this and that. And I don't really understand this, and I don't really get that. And over this and over that. And can you believe this person? And I don't know, I'm trying to give it to you. I'm trying to understand and all these things. No listening. No listening happening. And hey, is there space for that? There is. Sometimes we go to them and we go, I need to empty my mind. Step number one, empty my mind. And I'm going to give it to you. Absolutely. Step one of forgiveness is awareness that I have a mind that I'm running. Step number two is I'm going to clear this away. Give it to the light, bring it to the light. But how many of us actually go beyond that to the trust? Will I listen now? Trust is developed through listening and following the voice for love. That's how miracles happen. So we can start to rely on miracles instead of judgment. That's how problems are resolved. So we stop resolving our own problems, or attempting to, because we realize there's a miracle that will come to resolve every problem when we trust in Jesus and Holy Spirit. I'm going to give you like an example from last week. So personal taxes, I don't know when your tax season is, but in Canada, personal taxes are due at the end of March, I believe. And so I have young adults in the house, and kind of got clear about, okay, my oldest son, he knows he's going to do that. His taxes are going to go with my parents' taxes to that person. And I have an accountant that works with my business and my taxes. And I have my daughter, she's 18, and she earned $0 last year, but she has earned money in the past. So she has a tax return that she has to file. And I realize, and I'm open, if there's no tax return to file this year because we'll catch it up another year, that's fine. But my sense was, I don't know about that. I don't know what to do about her taxes. And it was really, really funny. So this has just kind of been, again, I'm not over here trying to fix it and figure it out. I'm just kind of curious about it. And this envelope comes in the mail, and it was sitting on the counter for like a good 5 days. And I said to my daughter, sweetheart, when mail comes, you have to open it. It's from the government, and you're just going to have to take a look. I'm not sure what's happening. She goes, oh, I don't want anything from the government. You know, she's like, I don't want anything. Okay, well, you know, like step number one, we have to look at what we don't want to look at. That's fine. So anyway, she opens it up, and it's this big letter that says, you know, there's this really easy way by phone. It'll take 5-10 minutes to file your taxes this year if this criteria is met. Well, of course, it meets her criteria because there's really nothing to her criteria in terms of what we have to do. And I was like, oh, there's the answer. Beautiful, right? Like simple, but trust in God. Okay. That same day, my oldest son lost his keys. He lost his car keys. Okay. So we're at the point where he's using the spare keys. He's looking everywhere. And the kids have this funny thing with me where they're like, there's a thing that goes on in our house where I find things. Like they lose it, I find it. Every time almost, with quite a lot of ease. So earlier that day, I had said to the Holy Spirit, I was driving around and I knew it was on his mind because my son doesn't usually lose his keys. So I knew it was on his mind. It was bothering him. And I said to the Holy Spirit, I said, I just threw Gavin's keys up to the Holy Spirit. I just threw them up into his hands. And I noted that I noted that I had taken something because it seemed like a problem, right? There's kind of a problem going on. And anyways, I put the keys in the Holy Spirit's hands. Didn't think any more about it because I'm not thinking over here about it. I'm not trying to resolve the problem. And so there was a point in the day where I'd come home and Gavin had asked me, like to help him look for his keys. And I noticed I did throw out a couple of suggestions. Did you look here? Did you look there? He looked in those places. It wasn't there. I'm making dinner a little bit later. And all of a sudden, literally without thought, I walk over to the couch, I pick up the cushion, and I push my hand way deep into the crevice of the couch. His keys, which is a lot of them, right there, I pull them out, I put them on the counter. There wasn't even a thought that prior to that of his keys are in the couch. It was like I was just moved over there, picked up the keys, and put them on the counter. And it was so cool because I said to him, my son is an atheist. I said to him, just so you know, Gavin, I prayed about your keys earlier today. And it was so sweet because he's like, you did? And I said, yeah, I prayed about your keys. And then I literally just felt guided to go over to the couch and I reached in and I pulled them out. I just pulled them out and here they are. And he was like, thank you, Mom. And I think it was so sweet because he was like, you thought of me that, like, you cared? And I was like, of course I cared, right? Like, of course I did. But these are little things, but put these together all through the day, right? Where all these seeming unknowns, these seeming problems. And I mean, let me tell you, he spent most of the day looking for his keys because he was kind of doing it the other way, right? He's not trusting in God to find his keys. He's like, it's his responsibility. Is my responsibility to find my keys. And he worked hard. He was exhausted by the end of the day. He needed to go to bed early. And what lifted when he got his keys back, I thought, yeah, well, this is it. And we talked about this morning on a call where we were talking about back to the gratitude we feel when we trust in the Holy Spirit and Jesus to guide our life, because it lifts the burden of responsibility off of us to solve our problems, our seeming problems. They are resolved in truth. In the higher picture, they're already resolved. In fact, A Course in Miracles metaphysically says you're watching what has already happened and gone by. Imagine if we remembered that present moment. Well, I've already lived through this. It's already been resolved and done. So I just have to just wait patiently for the answer to just show up. That's exactly actually how it works. The answer shows up without our efforting and interference. We don't really know that until we stop efforting and interfering, though. So like for a long time, we'll say, well, I found it or I solved it, right? Because there's all this activity and effort going on over here. It need not be. So guess what? When we trust in God and we trust in his plan, all of a sudden the problems still all get resolved. Everything gets resolved. There's a miracle behind every grievance. There's a resolution to all the problem. The problem is solved. It's done. But we don't have to bring the thinking, the reasoning, the efforting, the past learning. We don't have to do the heavy lifting on it. If that in anything will want you to develop trust in God and his plan, I would try this. I would try this for yourself. And I just want to say too, it can be as simple as like when I began studying the course and applying the course, if it was a really tough problem, I couldn't give it to Jesus and Holy Spirit. I didn't have enough trust that they would handle it. So I started with a lot of little problems. I actually started practicing with things that I felt like, okay, I can kind of handle the anxiety that might come from me not trying to handle this. So it wasn't like I took my most massive problems and gave them to them right away. That did not happen. I didn't have enough trust. I still needed to rely on myself for a long time. But one of the beautiful moments that kind of showed my development was when I was going through a divorce and I did not know how to get divorced. I didn't have anyone in my life that was getting divorced. So I was really, on one hand, I was incessant to try and figure it out. it was quite frightening, just like not having any context for it. And one day, and I was a very responsible person working very hard to try and resolve all of the problems that came with a divorce. And then one day I heard the Holy Spirit say, you have to stop thinking about your divorce. Like you're literally, it's your ego, like you're caught in trying to solve the problem on your own. You have to stop thinking about your divorce. Now, I had developed enough trust for that request to come through, because that was a big request. And to me, it was kind of like an insane request, because I actually was thinking, if I don't think about my divorce, how am I going to come up with the amount of money that, that we were trying to come up with an agreement, a separation agreement, an agreement for the kids? How am I going to solve these problems? How am I going to figure out what I need to take from the house and what is his and what is mine? How am I going to figure out how to resolve all our tax issues, all these things? I mean, there's so many things that I was thinking about all the time. The Holy Spirit said, stop thinking about your divorce, and know, if you're thinking about it, that you are caught in attack thoughts, that you're caught in fear, and you're on your own. So, and the Holy Spirit didn't leave me there. He said, and I'll resolve everything for you. I'll bring you the answers. And that's exactly that period of time for me was an extremely important time. It was very challenging, but it was a time where I started to learn to truly rely on my inner teachers to resolve all of the issues. And there were so many. And what I noticed was, when I let go of my thinking, the problems resolve themselves, not in my timing. So it was interesting. And often, funny thing is that they would bring up things, and I was shown things that I hadn't even thought of, like things that needed to be resolved. They were bringing it to full circle healing, like no leftovers. Like there were so many little bits and pieces and details after being with someone for 13 years and raising 4 kids together that had to be sorted out. Nothing I couldn't see the whole picture, but they knew the whole picture. So they would bring in details that I hadn't even thought of for resolution. And it just flowed, and it flowed, and it flowed. And it was like almost like over a 2-year period, everything got completely cleaned up. And it was as if every day I was in the classroom, there was housekeeping going on, and there was bits and pieces coming in. It never happened all at once. There's no way. It happened in little guided clarity steps. And I really didn't have to be interfering at all. Like, so I got to kind of be on both sides of that trust, is where I didn't trust, and I was trusting in my own way. And I was in so much pain, constantly feeling like I had to think about this all the time, to learning to surrender into trust and watch how the miracles started to unfold, and everything still got resolved much better than I could have resolved it, because of course they had the whole picture. And let me tell you about the resolution over here too. It was for him too. It was for my ex-husband too. It was for my children too. And over here, I wanted to screw him over. I didn't want to, like, on the surface level, but kind of underlying, I was like, I don't want him to win, and I don't want him to, I didn't want to give him whatever. And I remember when I came over here, the Holy Spirit said, I'm acting on behalf of all of you. There's no way. And the answers that would come, that's why we came to a separation agreement. He agreed to everything. I came up with the agreement. He agreed to everything because it was for him. It was for me. It was for him. Like there was no way he wasn't going to sign that, because it was for him. And it was like, wow. But gosh, I had to get out of the way, and I had to learn to trust in love to guide the way. So it's actually a lot of fun. I do want to say that, because when you start to give like I said, give the car keys up to the Holy Spirit tomorrow, like use the little things to start to notice, like, Holy Spirit, like, I want to deepen my relationship with you. I want to build trust with you. Jesus, I want to know that you got my hand and you're leading me along, and I will give up to you. I will release to you what I feel I can, what feels still kind to me. And if I'm too afraid, I'll just stay over here gripped, and that's okay, because I know there'll come a point, just like there did for me, when he could address something that was bigger, like, give your divorce thoughts to me. Stop trying to sort out your divorce. He basically told me, stop trying to sort out your life. But I had developed enough trust to actually trust that he was leading me in the way of the light and in the way to help me. He was helping me. So it's bumpy because we have so much value placed on the trusting in ourselves and trusting in our own way. But the more we recognize our way doesn't work, it's not brought us the peace, the light, the love, the clarity that we really deserve. And there's another way to navigate life that is more graceful and it's full of miracles, and we're all entitled to it. Our lesson today, I am entitled to miracles. We're literally entitled to these miracles. They're for us, for all of us. And so I don't want to miss the miracles. I want to receive the miracles. I want to know I'm cared for and loved. I want you all to know that. That's the truth for all of us. But we have to claim it. We claim it by shifting our allegiance from fear to love, from shifting our trust from trust in our own pathway, in our own faculties, in our own thinking, in our own reasoning, to trusting in one who has the whole picture and is for the whole. So this is such a hot topic. I will say that. It's a very hot topic. It's so good. So good. So important on the spiritual journey. I never talked about trust besides like trust in relationships, I guess, a little bit before spirituality, but it's so foundational to the spiritual journey. So foundational. Love you all. Bless you all. So appreciate you.